This iPhone 16 is a $1,000 paperweight. It can't take charge from a cable, but the real damage is hidden deep inside the logic board. Starting the diagnostic, we'll plug the phone into the USB amp meter. The power draw is basically non-existent, and the device doesn't even register that a cable is connected. But watch what happens when we drop it onto a wireless charger. It instantly wakes up and starts taking a charge. This distinct behavior isolates our problem directly to the USB controller IC. It's crucial to rule out the charging port flex first, because a faulty port can often mimic these exact symptoms or trigger a panic that causes the phone to reboot every 3 minutes. However, after testing, this port is perfectly healthy and there are no restarting issues. This confirms a board-level fault. To get to this point and fully extract the logic board, almost every single internal component of this iPhone had to be carefully removed. Organization during this teardown phase is absolutely critical. You must keep strict track of every screw by laying them out in a clear pattern. They vary in length, and accidentally driving a long screw into a short hole will cause catastrophic, irreversible damage to the underlying board layers. This tiny metal shield is hiding our faulty USB controller IC. But removing it is exactly where many technicians accidentally destroy the entire phone. Most will aggressively cut the shield off with snips or blast the board with dangerously high heat. I'm going to show you a surgical approach instead. By applying a specialized low-melt solder to the base of the shield, we can change the chemistry of the factory joints and drastically drop their melting point. I set my hot air to a conservative 265 degrees Celsius at 60 airflow, and then I bring in my microsoldering iron, and using the iron alongside the hot air lets me effortlessly feed the low-melt alloy around the edges, helping it mix perfectly into the shield's mounting pads. Because of this lower temperature, the shield releases smoothly long before the critical solder on the sandwich interposer or the fragile components underneath can melt. It just glides off in one unbent piece, no prying or ripped pads, and zero stress on the logic board. And since it's completely intact, we can solder it right back on later for a flawless factory spec repair. Alright, so I've been probing around the board, and I think I've found a problem. So the 3.3 volt the 3.3 volt LDO for the charging IC has a partial short circuit. So if we check it in diode mode, it says 0.011 voltage drop to ground. So we're going to change the charging IC from a donor, and we'll see if that fixes the charging issue. So I have a 16 Pro Max here, and this charging IC got chipped a little bit when I was taking the shield off, but the chip seems to be pretty shallow, so I'm hoping that this chip is okay. Let's take this chip off, reball it, and then we'll put it on the other board, and we'll see if that works. Extracting a chip secured with factory high-temperature solder is incredibly risky. To melt those joints, the entire area must exceed 217 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, one shaky hand will knock dozens of microscopic surrounding components completely out of place. To avoid disaster, I slide a razor-thin tool under the IC and apply very slight upward pressure. With my hot air at 370 degrees Celsius and 50 airflow, the exact moment the solder liquefies, that tension releases the chip. I clean the pads, lock the chip under a stencil, and apply leaded solder paste. A quick blast of 300-degree hot air transforms the paste into beautifully uniform solder balls. Now we turn our attention back to the patient board to extract the failed USB controller. I use that exact same upward tension technique to pull the dead chip safely away from the fragile components surrounding it. With the dead chip gone, the logic board needs to be meticulously prepped. I tin the mounting pads with a low-melt alloy to neutralize the stubborn factory solder, Then gently wipe the area completely flat using a desoldering braid. A perfectly flat surface is absolutely critical here. If the pads are uneven, the newly reballed chip won't sit flush, and we risk bridging pads and causing short circuits. I verify our original short circuit is cleared, and then carefully align our reballed donor chip and apply heat to flow it solidly into place. A gentle tap confirms the surface tension has locked it in, and this board is finally ready. Okay, so if we check the 3v3 LDO in diode mode once more, look at that. Come on. The short is cleared. Perfect. Looking at the board view for the PV3V3 LDO rail, you might notice that I measure a different capacitor to verify the repair. Because they share this exact same line, confirming one proves the entire rail is clear. Even with a flawless physical installation, if we try to boot this phone right now, it will fail because our donor USB controller was harvested from an iPhone 16 Pro Max. The logic board is now facing a critical firmware mismatch. To solve this, we have to reprogram the ACE SPI ROM. I carefully extract the ACE chip from our patient board and clean the high-temperature solder off the pads. Next, I lock the chip into a stencil, apply a precisely mixed leaded paste, and reflow it to form perfect new solder balls. With the chip prepped, it goes straight into the programmer. Okay, I'm not sure if this chip is going to fit in here. And no, it is too large. Oh no, it does fit, but barely. Wow, okay, excellent. Excellent, so it detects the SPI chip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the computer, and I'm going to use the computer to back up the data on this chip, and then we'll burn fresh data onto it, and then we'll check and see if it works. Inside the software, I read the original data first to make sure the chip is still good. Then I load up the exact iPhone 16 Pro Max.bin file and write it directly to our iPhone 16 ACE chip. The software mismatch is officially solved. I'm going to put the device in its housing, and then we'll test it. Okay, so after changing the SN chip and reprogramming the SPI ROM, let's plug it in. Awesome. It is 14.8 volts at 1.5 amps. Device is charging. Perfect. And just like that, this iPhone is back from the dead and is now charging normally. If you're sitting with an unfixable device of your own, click the link below to send it to Repairtech Rx for a mail-in repair. We accept mail-in repairs from all across Canada and the USA. And before you go, check out my M1 iPad Pro video on screen right now. It features a brutal charging issue where I have to hunt down an open line on the CD3217. Click here to watch.